Standard 4, EVS2, Lesson 11, The Discomfiture of Shaistikhan. In the previous lesson, we learned how Shivaji escaped from the siege of Panhalgarh and reached Vishalgarh safely. Even though Adil Shah of Bijapur tried his best to capture Shivaji, he left no stone unturned. That means he did everything he could think of to force Shivaji to surrender. Every Sardar of Bijapur who was sent against Shivaji was defeated. Adil Shah at last gave up the fight, made peace with Shivaji, and gave recognition to his independent kingdom. Shivaji thus had peace for some time on his southern border. In the meanwhile, constant Mughal attacks from the north had practically ruined Maharashtra. Shivaji therefore turned his attention northwards and carried out raids in the territory of the Mughal Emperor Aurangzeb. This enraged Aurangzeb. That means this made Aurangzeb very, very angry. And he sent Shaistakhan, his uncle, to deal with Shivaji, that is, to put an end to Shivaji and teach him a lesson. Shaistakhan left for Pune with a huge army of 75,000 men and hundreds of elephants, camels, and pieces of cannon. Shaistakhan did not go straight to Pune, but instead, on the way, he captured the towns of Shirwal, Shivapur, Saswat, and finally laid siege to the fort of Purandar. Nothing could stop his advance. But once the Maratha army surrounded him in a mountain pass. The Maratha troops moved very fast on their swift Bimtari ponies. The Marathas were able to travel fast as they did not carry many things with them. In other words, they traveled very light. They could traverse the hills and valleys in the shortest possible time on army rations consisting of onions and bajra bread. This type of warfare, perfected by the Marathas, was unknown to Shaistakhan, as the Mughals and Shaistakhan carried many things with them to make their travel comfortable. Tired of the continuous harassment by the Maratha troops, he at last raised the siege of Purandar. Shaistakhan then continued his march on Pune. He decided to capture the fort of Chakhan, which was under the control of the Marathas. Firangoji Narsala fought to defend the fort with great bravery and skill against the army of Shaistakhan. For 2 months he kept Shaistakhan at bay, but he was helpless against the cannon guns of Shaistakhan, which made holes in the walls of the fort. Shaistakhan was much impressed with the way Firangoji defended the fort. He did not kill Firangoji, but instead he offered him service with the Mughal emperor. Do you think Firangoji accepted Shaista Khan's offer? Firangoji refused this tempting offer as he was loyal to Shivaji and Swaraj. Shaista Khan came to Pune and made Lal Mahal, Shivaji's residence, his headquarters. 1 year passed, then another year. Shaista Khan would not leave Pune. On the contrary, his troops would raid Shivaji's territory, destroy crops, and take away the cattle. In this way, he started devastating the surrounding countryside. Devastating means destroying the land. At last, Shivaji decided to teach Shaista Khan a lesson. In a way, it was good that Shaista Khan was staying in Lal Mahal. Do you know why? Well, Shivaji knew the place inside out, with all its entrances and exits, its secret passages, doors, and windows. Now let's imagine if late in the evening the electricity failed, would you be able to walk about in your house? Would you be able to find your things? Of course you would, as you know where everything is. That's why Shivaji knew what he was going to do. Besides, Shivaji's spies were keeping him well informed. Shivaji knew about the disposition of the Khan's troops. So he decided to enter Lal Mahal one night and kill Shaista Khan. This was indeed a very bold plan. Lal Mahal was so well guarded that even an ant would find it difficult to get through. 75,000 troops were camping outside the palace. No armed Maratha was allowed to enter the town. But Shivaji had made up his mind, and there was none who could turn him away from his resolve. That is, his plan to teach Shaista Khan a lesson. So on the night of 5th April 1663, a marriage procession was passing along the streets of Pune. Now, all of you have been for a wedding and surely can recall all that happens. Yes, there was music and fireworks accompanied the procession. Hundreds of people dressed in fine clothes were in the procession. Some were on palanquins, while many more were on foot, dancing or walking. Shivaji, with his band of trusted followers, joined the procession to give the impression that they were a part of it. Shaista Khan's men were distracted as they were enjoying watching the wedding procession and did not think that Shivaji and his Marathas had joined the procession. After some time, the procession proceeded on its way, but Shivaji and his men moved away quietly in the direction of Lal Mahal. Shaista Khan was fast asleep at this hour. Shivaji made a hole in the wall and entered Lal Mahal. He had no trouble finding his way about because it was, after all, his own home. The Khan's bodyguards were half asleep. Shivaji's followers tied them up. Shivaji went deeper inside Lal Mahal. Suddenly, someone rushed at him with a sword. Shivaji at once killed him. He thought it was Shaista Khan, but it was his son. There was a commotion, lots of noise, and so naturally the people woke up. Shivaji went straight to the Khan's chambers. The Khan was fast asleep. Shivaji took out his sword and was about to kill Shaista Khan. At that very moment, the Khan got up and he was terrified. And in fear, he started shouting, "The devil! The devil!" And he tried to escape through the window. Shivaji ran after him and struck him with the sword. Shivaji's sword cut off 3 fingers of the Khan, which was still on the windowsill. But instead of losing his life, the Khan was lucky to escape with the loss of his 3 fingers only. The Khan jumped out of the window and made for safety. But the Khan's troops were in and around Lal Mahal. So now Shivaji and his men had to also escape from there. So what do you think they did? To deceive the Khan's troops, Shivaji and his men raised the cry and began shouting, "Shivaji has attacked! Run! Catch him!" And they started to run themselves. The Khan's troops also started running in all directions. In the confusion that followed, Shivaji and his men made their escape. They ran out from Lal Mahal and went to Sinhagad. The Khan's troops spent the whole night looking in vain for Shivaji and his troops. This incident took the fight out of Shaista Khan. He was afraid that if he lost only his fingers in the first attack, Shivaji might cut his head off in the second attack. Aurangzeb was furious when he heard of this episode. Shaista Khan lost the emperor's favor and was transferred to Bengal. This was the first serious blow to the Mughal power. That it was the first time Shivaji with his small army had defeated the huge Mughal army. Shivaji had successfully bearded the lion in his own den. Gunfire announced Shivaji's victory over Shaista Khan. In those days, there were no phones or mobiles, so they fired guns. And when the sound of gunfire was heard, the people knew that they had won. And so a wave of joy went all over Maharashtra. Children, I do hope you enjoyed listening and watching this video. Thank you.